wanting to try again. And my husband, obviously, yeah, like he was ready, but I wasn't. I really wasn't. And yeah, it literally was only God that got me through to even wanted to try again. So I remember, I think, yeah, so towards the end of 2017 now, that's when I said, okay, let's give it a go. Let's, give it to God, and hopefully this time things will be different. And so, yeah, got pregnant more or less straight away again. Praise God, we're pregnant, yay. But I was just obviously so scared. And by this time, the hospital that I was at, they actually did an autopsy on the first baby. And so they noticed that basically the baby was healthy, there was nothing wrong. And one thing that he said was that it's not my fault, because I'd blamed myself for so long. And when he said those words, I was like, yeah, okay, I needed to hear that. So I was just so
Yes.
thankful and so grateful that he even said that. Because I know some healthcare professionals, they can be quite careless and quite thoughtless, heartless, and yeah, not show that sensitivity, but it's so important. So yes, when he said those words, I thought, okay, let's just give it to God, and next time things will be different. So again, everything was more or less the same. Like I had no morning sickness. I was just really hungry, so I was just gaining weight again. But I was so happy. And in the hospital, they were doing regular checkups. So every week I'd go in for scans, and everything looked fine. And they did say that they could do a stitch. They were contemplating doing a stitch. So I did ask them. So I was doing research after the first pregnancy. I did do research, and I asked, do I have a weak cervix? They said no, but we'll keep an eye on it. So with the second pregnancy, they kept an eye on my cervix, and everything was fine, everything was normal. And then I got to 17 weeks and everything was fine still. However, when I got to 17 weeks, 5 days, yeah, something was up. Like I felt strange, but it was totally different to the first time round. So I just thought, okay, like I feel strange, but maybe it's just because baby's getting bigger. So that's what I thought it was. So if I can describe it, just in case, God forbid, like there's any women here that are maybe pregnant or going through it, basically it felt like there was a pressure on my bladder. That's how I can describe it. Like like you need to basically like you need to wee. That's what it
Yeah.
felt like. And so I just thought maybe it's just baby in an awkward position. And so I just was like, okay, yeah, it's fine. And I went to work. I actually went to work, did a whole day of work. And then after work, my husband met me. And then I called the midwife and I told her what I was feeling. She said, why don't you just go to the hospital? Just get it checked out. It might be nothing, but just get it checked out. So yeah, went to the hospital. And then as soon as I got to the hospital again, like I noticed I was bleeding. And so as soon as I saw that, I was like, oh my gosh, I said, no, not again. And it gets even stranger. It was actually the same day that it happened the year before. So the first time I lost the first baby was the 9th of March, 2017. And then fast forward a whole year, the 9th of March, 2018. Yeah, I'm in more or less the same position. So then the nurse, they checked me, the doctors, they scanned me, and they actually saw that the baby was still alive. But on the scan, you could see that basically my cervix had opened. So the baby was here, baby was playing, and baby was like moving about and happy. But you could see that the fluid around the baby had started to come out because my cervix was opening just a little bit. And so the fluid around the baby was coming out. And so they said that if the pain doesn't cease, all this fluid is going to come out and then the baby's going to die, basically. So they said if the bleeding stops, then maybe we can do something. But if the bleeding doesn't stop, then I'm afraid, yeah, that's another miscarriage. So yeah, so when we left them, my mum, who had joined us by that point, and my husband, they just laid hands on my stomach, and we were asking God for a miracle, and the total opposite was happening. Basically, I was in more pain. I was in so much more pain, and yeah, basically, I was having full blown contractions by this point, and I remember my waters broke again. My waters broke, and then literally I think it was about maybe 5 hours of trying to. I was so because it was in the middle of the night, so I was actually trying to sleep, but then having the contractions, so they'd wake me up. And yeah, so literally I was just having contractions for about 5 6 hours, and then the baby came eventually, and then the placenta came afterwards. And I remember I practically passed out and I was just like, I don't feel good. And I remember I was kind of in and out of consciousness. And so when the doctor checked me, they would notice that the placenta hadn't all come out. So they literally rushed me to theatre because they were basically saying that my own life is now at risk. If parts of the placenta is still left inside your body, that's very dangerous, and it could mean that you could have complications for the future. So yeah, so they literally just rushed me, and I remember my husband even afterwards he told me that he was so scared because he'd lost his child, and now the thought of losing me as well was, too much. Yeah. So, but anyway, thank God they managed to get everything out. And yeah, so I remember I came to, and then I remember thinking that I'm actually in the same room as I was the year before. So, and even the nurses, they recognized me from the year before as well. They were like, "Oh my gosh, you're here again." So it was literally like a crazy deja vu that it was crazy. It was so nuts. And again, the nurse, she asked me, "Do you want to see your baby?" And I said, "Yes." And they literally looked like twins. Like I held him. So again, it was another boy, and another boy, yeah, two boys in a row. And I remember thinking, like, God, like we wanted a boy, and now we've lost another boy, and I just couldn't get my head around it. And I felt like all that progress that I'd made from the year before, from the counseling, the exercise, just like trying to believe God through the prayers and everything, I just felt like gone back to square one. And again, I remember going back into myself, and I just was, yeah, I just went numb. That's the best way to describe it. I just went so numb. And but yeah, God really comforted me in that hospital room, because I remember like I was practically half drugged up from the gas and air. And I remember God gave me a name for my second son, and he gave me the name Shiloh, which means a place of peace. So, and I was like, wow, that's so perfect, because like God obviously has given my son peace because now he's in heaven. But I was like, I need peace. My husband needs peace. Those that are grieving with us need peace. So yeah, that name was so fitting. And even the day after, when we were discharged from the hospital, my mother-in-law, my husband's mum, she messaged me and she said, "Remember the story of Hannah in the Bible?" So when I read the first Samuel, basically the first few chapters talks about how Hannah, she was barren, she didn't have any kids, but she craved a male child, and it says that Hannah went to Shiloh to pray. So when I saw that, I was like, oh my gosh, God is with us. Like literally says Shiloh like 10 times in that passage of scripture. So I was like, do you know what? There's a reason why God gave me the name Shiloh. And then I remember saying to God, I was like, God, you blessed Hannah with a baby boy. And, Hannah, she asked for a male child. So I was like, God, you're going to give me a male son too. I've lost two boys, but I'm going to have my son. So I said to God, this time next year, I will have a baby boy. So that was around, yeah, March 2018. And so yeah, see, we all know I had my son the year after. So literally God kept his promise, God kept his word to me.
Yes,
So
yes.
yeah, but it was a long journey. It was a long, and
Yeah.
even if I lost the second baby, again, obviously I went into myself, but the recovery was somewhat quicker. I felt like, I guess, obviously, because I'd gone through it the year before, I said straight away, I need to go to counseling. I was like, I'm going to throw myself into exercise. So I did all these steps. I went to church. I, would pray. I would read my word. And I remember just meditating on scripture. And yeah, God really comforted me as though, obviously I was so scared. Like, even in trying again, I had so much fear. But God, yeah, God really encouraged me and was just like, you know what, I've got you. I've got you. So God literally gave me that peace that that He gave me through naming my son Shiloh, a place of peace. I feel like God actually gave me that peace inside my heart. So eventually, I think about 3 months later, we decided to try again, and then yeah, I got pregnant again. So this was August 2018. And yeah, this time we went to the hospital. I spoke to that same professor. So yeah, sorry, if I go back a little bit, when after I lost my second son, they actually did an autopsy on the second baby, and they said this time round, they said, yeah, we noticed so many things. They said that there was a lot of inflammation, around the baby. The baby was very sick. He said baby was normal, but I caught an infection. And he said, he reassured me, he said it wasn't my fault, but it's just sometimes, you know, these infections can come. And when you're pregnant, you're hypersensitive, isn't it? So basically anything can go wrong. So he said, unfortunately, that's what happened. And so baby got really sick. So he said that if I had carried on with the pregnancy, he said I could have died because things were so bad inside. And he even said that the baby would have died as well. The baby wouldn't have lasted long. So when he said that, I just thought, wow, God saw the bigger picture. You know, sometimes we,
Correct.
isn't it? It's like sometimes
And
we,
save you.
yeah, exactly. It's like sometimes we just see, you know, oh my gosh, like, why am I going through this? But God is like, no, you need to go through that valley in order for me to bring you to that mountain, you know? So
Absolutely.
yeah, so literally when I heard that, I said, okay, God is with us. So yeah, so anyway, so when I got pregnant again, I went to that same consultant because he has a clinic for ladies that have lost babies, multiple babies, and also lost babies in their second trimester. So he said, yeah, like we'll look after you, we'll scan you every week, and that's exactly what they did. So and even he said that I should just have a stitch. So I had a cervical stitch put in at 10 weeks pregnant. And yeah, and even that was traumatic in itself. Like that was a very painful procedure. But yeah, I just thought, do you know what? I need to do it because my baby's, you know, life is more important than my discomfort. So yeah, so then from about probably about 13 weeks all the way up until 30 weeks, I had weekly scans. So every week I'd go to the hospital, they'd scan me, they'd check my cervix length, they check for the fluid around the baby just to make sure that there's, you know, nothing's going on around there. And yeah, and I think I remember when I got to around 18 weeks, they said, okay, your cervix, even though I had the stitch, my cervix length kept dropping. So yes, that was quite scary. So he said, can you limit your movements? So basically I was put on bed rest. So he was like, so I couldn't stand for more than 30 minutes. I couldn't cook, couldn't clean. And I live in like a two-story house. So we've got a lot of stairs. So even the stairs, I had to literally take it easy. I literally felt like glass. I just felt like if I do too much, the baby's gonna fall out. That's what I was feeling. So it was when I was pregnant with my son, my third son, it was very stressful. I cried. I remember I cried every day for 2 weeks straight because I was adamant that I was gonna lose another one. And so my mental health was all over the place. And just yeah, I remember like I'll call my mum every day. My mum would even call me. She'd be like, "Hey, how are you? How are you today?" You know, like she was like, you know, you have to stay strong, stay strong for your baby, because I think you know when you're pregnant, the baby can actually can sense when you're stressed. So
Yes.
you know, so you have to remain calm and collected and try your best to stay positive. So yeah, so after those 2 weeks of me crying, I said, you know what, I'm not going to do this anymore. I'm not going to cry anymore. I have to stay positive, and I need to think long term. So then instead of thinking the worst, I started to speak life. So I started to speak life over my baby, over my belly, over my whole body. And I used to thank God in advance for getting me to full
Mm.
term. Even though I was 20 weeks, I said, God, I thank you for getting me to 37 weeks pregnant. I thank you for a healthy son. I started to speak life because I realized that if you know by me being negative, it's not going to help anything. So yeah, that's literally what got me through, and I was just literally praying, reading my words, getting encouragement from you know church family, from my family, and yeah, like even like yeah, obviously I said I couldn't cook, isn't it? So my mum would drive all the way to my house, drop food off for me, and then go home. And yeah, like, it was a lot. Like we went through a lot when I was pregnant with my son, but it was all worth it. And yeah, and then eventually I had him. So they took the stitch out at when I was 37 weeks. They took the stitch out, and then I was even adamant that the baby was going to come then, but he didn't. He held on, and also I was even able to have my maternity pictures done, which I think I had that like 38 weeks, and then
Yes.
5 days later, that's when I had my son. He came, and yeah, the rest is history. And you know, my Maximus is here with us, and he's in my arms, and I'm just so grateful. And I remember even when I was in labor with my son, all I kept thinking was, I need to hear him cry. Because obviously, the first two times I'd gone into labor, all I had was silence and then me crying. So I just was like, God, I need to hear my baby crying. So when I heard my son cry for the first time, it was
Oh,
literally, it's like the best. It's literally the music ever. And
Mm.
I thought, okay, I've done it. I was like, God, thank you. And I remember I was even crying in the hospital. I was screaming. I was like, thank you, Jesus, because yeah, it was a long 3 years of trauma, like up and down, up and down. But yeah, God is so faithful, and yeah, I'm just so grateful to God. And even my midwife that delivered my son, she was a Christian, so she prayed over my son. Like it was
Yes.
just, yeah, God knew what He was doing. You know, God definitely knew. So yeah, that's basically it in a nutshell. I'm sure I've missed some things out, but yeah,
No, thank you, thank you, thank you so much for sharing. And what's
yeah,
amazing is that you had a support system. You know, like your husband,
oh
like
yeah,
that it took an emotional toll on you, but I'm sure it took another emotional toll on him. But he has to make sure you're okay, you know, and your sister and your
yeah.
mom, just that community around you of like love and support.
No,
Oh my gosh, that's quite a journey. That is quite a journey. Well, I
yeah,
have some people sent in questions. So I just
okay.
have three. The first question is, how long did it take you to recover? This person has yet to recover, and it's been about 6 months now.
Okay. Um, that's the thing. It depends. For me, I was 17 weeks pregnant, so it probably took about, I would say maybe 3 weeks because I remember I was bleeding for a long time afterwards.
Right.
So, yeah, I think for a good 10 days I was still bleeding. So they say, I think after about a month and that's when you can try after about a month. So yeah, I remember, yeah, it did take about, I'd say about 21 days for everything to feel more or less okay. But it depends. Like, if you have a stillborn, maybe if you had like a C-section, then you'll need like, 2, 3 months, isn't it? For it to
Right.
be for healing. So I guess it just depends. And I would just say to seek advice from from the doctor or healthcare professional. But yeah, but for me personally, it was weeks. Yeah.
You are so strong and
Oh,
so
oh,
brave. Oh my gosh.
oh,
And
do you
you're
know?
safe. I mean, God is so good. God is
Yeah,
so
he
good. And the
really
way
is.
you worked through that, oh my gosh, that would have broken some people, you know?
Yeah,
So that
yeah.
just says a lot
Yeah,
about you.
that's the thing. Like don't get me wrong. See me all put together. Like I've been some really. So that's why, like, and even like the reason why I started to share on my Instagram platform, it wasn't because of me. Like for about a year, I felt God saying that I need to start sharing, but I literally said I can't because I was so embarrassed. I was one
Mm,
embarrassed. I just thought like, what would people think of me? And yeah, basically I was just really embarrassed. And God kept saying, no, you need to share. You need to. I remember the first, I did a post about 2 years ago on the fact that I've basically lost two babies. And I remember I posted it and I turned my phone off. As I didn't see anyone's comments, my phone back on. Literally, the amount of support, I was so overwhelmed.
yes.
And that's when I knew that, okay, God's actually seen from ladies that had lost babies, they were struggling to cope. And I just realized that, wow, it's not about me, it's about other people. People are suffering. I was going through it, but I know other people, they don't have that support system.
Right.
And like you, and obviously you've been there, isn't it? And like you said, like you go to work and it's like you have to put on that face, got it all together, but inside you're broken, and it's not supposed to be that way. Like, I just really feel like everyone's going through different. You might not even be baby loss, but everyone's going through things, and you have to deal with it. You really need to deal with that trauma, otherwise it will eventually catch up to you and deal with you. So yeah, like you really need to, either whether it's counseling or another form, but you need to release it, because as humans we need an outlet. If we just keep everything inside, it breaks us. And obviously our mental health is so important. We're more aware about health now, but it's so important
Speaking
to yeah, just
Yes, speaking of therapy and
yeah.
working through it, what was some of the best advice you received after your miscarriage?
I would say so. Yeah, be kind to myself because
Mm,
I wasn't. My thoughts were very negative. There
mm,
was a lot of blame. I remember I would backtrack with both miscarriages. I would backtrack and okay, what did I do? Did I eat something bad? Maybe I stood for too long. Maybe I shouldn't have exercised. Maybe I should have done this, done that. So my counselor said I need to be kind to myself. I need to be kind to my mind because and then she would say like it's not your fault. And those words, it's not your fault. Like it's four words, but it's so powerful because I really feel like um as humans, like we try to put blame and we usually put blame on ourselves, but some things are just not in our control and we just have to remember that and yeah, and to let yeah, like just give it to God.
yes, 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 yes. Um, oh, did we lose Katie? Okay, perfect. One last question. How, as a friend, as a sister, how can you help someone who's gone through a miscarriage? Can you hear me? No? Oh, Katie, can you hear me now? No? All right. Well, that's okay if you can't hear me. Um, Guys, if you want to follow Katie's story and follow just her journey and her motherhood journey, please follow her at Katie, Katie, Bonful. I hope I said that correctly, Bonful, on Instagram. And Katie, can you hear me yet before I sign out? Can you hear me? No. Okay. I don't know exactly what happened to the audio, but please follow Katie. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Um, with tuning in to our topic, I her story is shaking me a little bit. I can't imagine going through that and just the courage it takes to tell your story and walk through your truth and share it. It's just absolutely amazing. Katie, you are a remarkable woman, remarkable. And thank you so much for tuning in and thank you for keeping up and dealing with our technological difficulties. So, thank you guys. Have a wonderful and blessed day. Until next time, talk to you guys later. Bye.